slavery long before they ever saw a white person. All across this continent, slaves were part of a system based not on race, but on ethnic difference.
Whoa!
And brute power.
The slaves, all this was about ethnic differences. So again, they knew that there was a distinction between them and us.
A system involving an enormous array of monarchs, merchants, and mercenaries.
African kingdoms were at war with one another. War was a theme in Africa and actually Europe as well for many, many years. And so as a part of these wars, as a result of these wars, people were taken hostage and made into slaves.
I've come to Pt.2, a river town in Sierra Leone, and the long-standing home of the Temne people. For centuries, the Temne here collected captives who had been taken in wars. They tied them, packed them into small boats, and sailed them downstream, where they were sold to Europeans for profit.
The same thing we just read.
We sometimes romanticize Africa. We think that Africa was idyllic until the white man came. But there were deep tensions between ethnic groups here. Black Africans didn't necessarily feel the bonds of skin color any more strongly than, say, white Europeans did.
Slavery was ongoing before the Europeans came. It was just a common business. They come here in this wharf. Here is the landing part for the boats.
Who were the slave traders?
The slave traders were great warriors, strong men, chiefs. They do this business.
You see, he gave the slave traders their property. Oh, they were great men.
A lot of misery loaded on these boats.
Yes, but our people, we are not thinking about misery.
Did you hear what he just said? This brother here just said there was a lot of misery that were loaded onto those boats. You know what he just said? We don't care about that misery. This is what has been hidden from us for far too long. Watch this.
It was a lucrative business.
It was a lucrative business.
Professor Gates.
I was surprised to find out that in Pt.2 today, there are still many families whose ancestors profited from the trade. And some of them were willing to tell me about it. Good. Just speak from your heart. Did any of you receive wealth inherited from the slave trade?
He said his people were involved. They had 500 slaves. Oh, sorry. They were taking slaves from everywhere, often by war. Sometimes they would just grab children and sell them.
Would chiefs wage war just to get slaves? Oh, yes.
They were giving guns, money, and liquor, and fine clothing. They were giving guns, money, liquor, and fine clothing. Read the third verse again of Joel, the 3rd chapter, please.
Joel 3, verse 3. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink.
And this is exactly what he just attested to. Okay?
Black men were selling black people to the white man. But when you see it, do you see it as Temne were buying local, Mende were buying Temne, etc.? Is there a difference?
Well,
Were all black people black?
only BB, the stars, black who are black. So for certain things, we don't speak the same language. So, I don't like what you like. That's for certain.
He said we don't speak the same language. And I don't like what you like. Clearly, they understood, even till today, that there is a distinction and a separation between who we are and who they are. It's a matter of history, and it's a matter of public record.
We don't just live in harmony.
We don't believe in harmony, he said.
historians estimate that the overwhelming majority of the slaves shipped to the New World were captured and sold by African kingdoms.
Wow. This is what the proof has revealed. That our people were rounded up, rallied, sold, bought and sold, and shipped off by African kingdoms based on the fact that we were different. We were a different ethnicity. We spoke a different language. All right. Based on the fact that we spoke a different language, based on the fact that we were different than them ethnically, okay? And again, the proof is in the pudding. We just observed, heard a man that's still there and had his descendants lined up. Hey, who profited? We did. Very lucrative business, okay? So let's move right along. Let's find out. So what I want to do is bring up a brother. My dear brother, Mikael. This brother actually had the privilege to go to Ghana. The brother had the opportunity to meet and himself personally speak with the natives and the people that were indigenous there, whether it be of Hamitic origin or whether it be of Hebrew origin. So please, my dear brother, Mikael, please come forward, sir.
Can y'all hear me back there?
Yeah. Oh, that's not black.
Can y'all hear me? Hello. Okay. So yeah, me and my wife, we actually had the privilege to go to Ghana. We were there for about 2 weeks, and I'll just kind of explain before what the purpose was of us going. So it's a saying going around that, you know, that Africans hate us, right? We all heard that Africans don't really like African Americans, right? But they always said we were the same people. Europeans said we're the same people. So they kind of give this depiction that Africa, you know, it's a lot of savages over there, they're killers, they eat mud pie and all that type of stuff. So for me, I grew up, you know, I always had to figure out myself. You know, I had an issue with discipline sometimes. So for me, it, you know, kind of carried me on to actually seeking the knowledge. I got to go see it for myself. So we went over there and, you know, immediately they welcomed us with open arms. I'm talking about, you know, welcome home, brother. Imagine hearing that. Welcome home, brother. The last place that we went, and I'm pretty sure the brother hit on this point, that actual era was Africa was called the Kingdom of Judah, right? Filled with tribe of Benjamin, Levi, and Judah. So, you know, hearing that was for us was very touching and moving, seeing that we don't get that same love over here in America, even from our own people, unfortunately. So when we got over there, we, you know, we got to see the wildlife. We got to really dig into the culture and see the people. So one of the places that we went, and he's going to show this video, but this first place was, okay, so this one right here, this is called, we went to the Asante Kingdom. If you know anything about the Asante Kingdom, it's one of the richest kingdoms over there in Africa. And watch this. They claim to be Israelites.
That's right.
I'll say that again. They claim to be Israelites. And you're going to see in this video, he says, we claim to be the Israelites that came from Mesopotamia. If you know anything about that era, during the Chaldeans era, our forefather Abraham came from that area. So he's going to go into some of this video talking about some of the customs. So when you read into the Old Testament, when he even talks about proving a virgin. Anybody ever read that about how to prove a virgin in the Bible? Right? So one of the things they say is they still keep the customs of the white sheep. So what happens is during the time of marriage, for a man to make sure that his wife is pure, because you'll read in the scripture, that most of the men, they took virgins, all of them actually, they took virgin wives, purity, right? So what they would do is the man and that woman would go into the bed chamber. They would, consummate. And he would have to come out with the white sheet and show the blood. And I believe it's this video, he talks about that they still keep these customs. Another custom, even down to it, and we'll hit on this a little later, is the language. Right. Some of the language is still the same. Different dialect, but it's still the same. So a lot of what you're going to understand is a lot of the Hebrews in Africa actually keep the customs of our forefathers and foremothers, down even to women in modest apparel. America, they thrive off women dressing half naked or looking a certain way or dressing like a man. Over there, they still keep the customs of their forefathers, and they'll tell you that. Down to the T. You'll walk around and even see brothers and sisters in fringes. We saw the child. We saw a child in fringes, representing his culture. And like the brother was saying, they are very keen on culture and ethnicity. And they feel very disrespected if you don't call them otherwise, to the point that they will want to kill you. You see, so this is the first video at the Asante Kingdom.
Mikael, you say your name?
I am Makamna from.
All right, so right now we at the Palace of Ashanti, right?
Yeah, the King's Palace.
The King's Palace. We just went through an awesome tour. We learned some great history from this brother. He really did a phenomenal job bringing some very pivotal information that we needed to hear. And I wanted to do this video because I asked him a question in the past in this museum. I've seen a lot of the customs our forefathers wanted to get, so I wanted to ask him this question so y'all can see for yourselves that there are people over here that still keep the custom of our ancestors. So the question I asked him, and you can elaborate on it, was, did he ever hear of the kingdom of Judah?
Yeah, I do hear that kingdom of Judah, yeah.
Okay. And can you elaborate on kind of what you said in there about you believing that y'all are real Israelites?
Yes, as I was saying, I don't believe in that. I actually in church, but I don't actually put myself through that thing. We have the Christianity and then we have the tradition. I do believe in the tradition.
The traditions.
Yeah.
The tradition.
So, go ahead. Grab the blue one.
Check. So what you saw here was he said, yeah, we know about Christianity. We just don't keep the religion. We keep tradition. We keep the traditions of our forefathers and foremothers. And see, that's been a biggest problem with us trying to identify ourselves as Hebrew Israelites, because as soon as we speak of the Bible, it gets put in the category of religion. And what you understand about the book is it's not a religion, it's actually a constitution. It's a cultural law that we had to keep. And he's saying we don't keep Christianity. He made a difference between that. We don't keep Christianity, we keep tradition. I just wanted to point that out, that he's going to go more in depth with that.
Yes, we see that we are scientists that we really Israelites, or we all came from the Mesopotamia. You see, as what the Israelites were doing, they were using sheep to make this sacrifice to the Almighty God. That's how the same thing that scientists are doing. So once you come to the palace here and be punished, they will tell you to slaughter a sheep, but not a goat or not a cow. You slaughter a sheep. So that's how the Israelites were doing. That's what that's we the scientists. We are also doing the same.
Another case in point, he said they slaughtered sheep and goat. Where else would you find that there were other customs besides in the Torah, the law of the Israelites? Right, when they went out of Egypt into the wilderness, he had to make sacrifices, not only for sin, they had peace offering sacrifices, different sacrifices that we had to do depending on what the case was. And he'll go into, these are the same sacrifices they still keep today.
And I think that is beautiful that you said that, because a lot of that specific custom will come from the Mosaic laws, even before Christianity. You know, a lot of our people in America are caught up in the religion of Christianity and the belief system that does not go with the traditions, as you said. And a lot of our people don't know who they are or where they come from. And us being, this is our first time here as visitors, really understanding the traditions and the culture. A
lot of us need this. A lot of us need to see this culture and the fact that y'all are really keeping the actual ancient traditions of our forefathers is a beautiful thing.
Yes, let me cite this example to you. You see, in Asante here, suppose, let's say you get to get married. We have the traditional marriage and we have the white marriage. But we do take the traditional marriage as the marriage. That's
so he said one of the things they do is keep the traditional marriage. And as we know, if I give an example, let's say with Jacob, right? Before he actually took the woman, he had to go to that woman's father, or in place of that father, to make sure that he was right fit. And that's what he's going to go into. What they do in Asante is this: the woman that man chooses, they don't let the woman know. They do a full background check on that woman. They go through the father, they go through the mother, they go through the grandfather, and they try to find any little error down to if it's any generational diseases. So say they got Alzheimer's down the line in their family or diabetes. They'll say you can't marry her because she's not going to be a pure mind for you. And that's what we used to do, the same custom. That woman wasn't a virgin. She wasn't pure. She wasn't under the law of the father, that you could not be with that woman.
One of the things that still was carried on, even to this day, a lot of people, well, I'm not really so much sure. I've been with my wife for some years now, but customarily, what would be done is a man that was interested in a woman, we talk in America, he would ask the father for the daughter's hand in marriage. What we're saying is that's a Hebraic custom that you will find in the scriptures. You will find this throughout the locations where the Israelites are located, where they've been scattered to. The other thing that the brother's going to bring out is what is called a dowry. Okay? It's a dowry. And in essence, it's almost a sense of security. Yeah. Let's say. Let's say that this marriage folds. What then happens to this sister? And I'll tell you what happens. You end up, when you go into the scriptures and you'll see, like I know a lot of people that say we don't have to keep the laws of God. Right. What a lot of people don't realize is that you unknowingly do in a lot of aspects. One of those is when you see a man and a woman split and they have a thing called spousal support, alimony, it's all rooted in the scriptures. Just because that woman goes out from you, her food, her clothing, those things you should not diminish according to God. So when we look at these things now in the society that we live in, we have to understand that this was rooted in our history. This is why when you see the statements being made like the Professor Rudolph Windsor made, that they were going out and they were trying to find the people who were locked and loaded already with laws, with culture, engineers, lawyers, magistrates, generals. Why? Because they knew that they needed them and their skill set to build a nation.
When the two parties like the man and the woman, the man will visit the woman's parents with a schnapp, and then the schnapp is a traditional drink. It's an alcohol, but it's a traditional drink with a schnapp, and then some small amount of money, and some of the painting cloth, present that thing to the wife or the lady in question's parent. After they are settled, they will pray or make a libation and pray. That's what we call marriage. After that,
and I just want to add, because some stuff they do is just something they added on. You got to understand, each captivity that we went through and came out of, we always took a piece of our oppressor's custom. So some of the things he'll be saying actually came from our actual oppressor during that time period. So I just wanted to make that clear.
we can choose to be the white wedding, choose to come and do it. And everything is something that is tradition. Right. And or during that period, you're supposed to put on traditional dress. You are not supposed to put on either seed or so. You see, either you put on kente or fabric that made Asante or the traditional dress.
So you basically put on the apparel that represents the tribe.
Exactly that way. So here, everything here is.
So clearly tradition means a lot to them there, just like the brother just stated. Tradition goes a long way there. They still held on to their heritage on continental Africa. The reason why a lot of these things escape us here in the Americas is because we were cut off from our heritage. Majority of the things that we should have known were beaten out of us. Some castrated, some lynched. We had our young children fed to alligators. A lot of things went into the conditioning and the making of slaves here in America. But overall, the Europeans knew who they were enslaving. The Hamitic people, as the brother put it, they knew who they were selling. We did not know. We didn't know. Because when someone's greater than you, a lot of people go out of their way to mask and hide that. They don't want to come out. They realize their shortcomings, their downfalls, and they realize your greatness. Kings, princes, queens, princesses, we come from greatness. All right?
So the next video, it'll be showing, again, I stated earlier that western part, before it was called Gold Coast, right? Before it was called West Africa, Ghana, that was actually called the Kingdom of Judah. You may also see it maybe called the Kingdom of Yehuda, filled with the 3 tribes, the Levitical priests, Levi, Benjamin, and Judah. So what you see here is this video in this area. Now I want y'all to really picture this. Being in this room and you smelling literally death of your ancestors on the walls and on the ground. And if you would have to really be there to see how small this wall was, this gate was that we had to go through. And it's called the Gate of No Return. This was literally the last place we saw before being in bondage in America. So what you're about to see, and this is even biblically prophesied, as I in this video see me actually read the scripture that lines up with this very place.
So what we have here is what they call the door of no return. This is something that we all
look how small that door is.
Sorry, it's kind of emotional, but Deuteronomy 28, verse 68. And Jehovah shall bring thee into Mizraim, which we know was Egypt, comes from the word Egyptos, which means bondage. And Jehovah shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. So the Bible prophesies that we would never going to see our homeland no more again. Which this was the last place that we seen before it hit the shores of America. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. And we know the Portuguese, the Dutch, and the British sold us to the so-called Europeans. And this was the last group of our brothers and sisters that went to the diaspora.
Now why the Bible said that we shall not see our homeland no more again? This gate is called the Gate of No Return. How did that line up with the scripture? Like, really think about this. This gate is called the Gate of No Return. This was the last place that we were ever going to be in Africa as far as majority of certain tribes. So this is what the brother's bringing out when you go to archaeology, historical facts, and biblical facts. It's undisputed. It lines perfectly right up. And that's why we're trying to bring back our culture, because we're getting called back now to return spiritually first to home, and then when the time is right, physically back home. But we first have to get back to understanding and knowledge first. So again, you know, I truly urge anybody and everybody, if you get a chance, don't listen to what everybody says. You go seek it out yourself. You go travel and see the different cultures. And I guarantee a lot of the time, just like he's gonna show you as well, in Rome, they still have black depictions of us on the wall. But America, they show us different pictures. Right? They show us Caucasian pictures. They even say King James was a white man, right? This is why the scriptures say you got to study thyself approved, because this is the information they don't want y'all to know.
So, all right. So, like the brother said, one of the things that was brought out was biblical prophecy. Biblical prophecy. And we're going to get the book of Deuteronomy 28th chapter really quick, because the one thing that's very definitive and very defining is this right here. Actually, you know what? Start at Deuteronomy, the first chapter, and the first verse. Start there. Deuteronomy 1:1. Let's get the context.
Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 1. These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel on his side of the Jordan, in the wilderness, in the plain over against the Red Sea, between Paran and Tafel, and Laban and Hazarath.
So what we see here is that the words that we're getting ready to read are the words that Moses spoke to who?
To Israel.
To the children of Israel. So let's see the words that Moses spoke to the children of Israel. 28 and 68, please. Let's find out.
Deuteronomy 28:68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
So according to the prophecy that was spoken to the children of Israel, they would go into slavery by way of cargo slave ship. What other nation of people do you know of that went into slavery on ships? Anybody know of any other nation? I'm hoping to find out. Any other nation of people that you know of that were transported globally by way of cargo slave ship? That's very, very specific. Okay? Come on.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
And when you get to where you're going, you're going to be sold. Go ahead.
For bondmen and bondwomen.
For slave man and slave woman. Now, I want you to understand something. When it says that you will go into Egypt again with ships, it's not talking about literal Egypt. I'm going to prove it. Because not only do we study history, archaeology, we also study linguistics. We study the language. All right? So let's find out. In the book of Exodus, the 20th chapter, in the 2nd verse, it says, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. What I want to show you is that Egypt is synonymous with the house of bondage, meaning slavery. Let's find out. Let's break it down from a linguistic standpoint. The word Egypt, the true word for it is Mitzrayim. The M in Mitzrayim is a prefix. The Sade, or this right here, what you see here, that TZ, and the Resh, that R, it spells Tazar. The word Tazur Ayim means besieged. It means to besiege. And we see the root of such word in 2 Kings, the 6th chapter in the 24th verse. In that verse we see, and he besieged. And the word there is Mitzrayim. Okay? Tazor. And it said, Waya Tazar in Hebrew. The Y is the beginning, and it also means and. Y in Hebrew means and. A-N-D. Okay? What we see also is that the ayim, that last portion there of Mitzrayim, shows that it's a dual or a double plural. Ayim is, when it pluralizes a word, it can mean one of two things. It can be quantitative, as in number, or it can be qualitative, as in stature. So, for example, the word Elohim. The word Elohim has two meanings, depending on the context. Elohim or Elohim can mean gods, plural, as in judges, which will be quantitative, or it can also mean God, singular, as in the Most High God, qualitative. So when we see that suffix added on, it shows a double or a dual plural. Okay? So when we see Mitzrayim, knowing that Mitzah or Tzur means to besiege or be besieged, and the Ayin makes it double, we see that it's a double siege, a double distress, or double bondage. So the slavery that you went in before is going to be twice as bad. This is how you understand and break down the Hebrew language. Okay? So the question then becomes, why would the Israelites name it Mitzrayim? Why did they name the land of Egypt that? Well, because they were enslaved in that place. They were sieged in that place. Joseph, when he was in the land of Egypt, the land of his affliction, he called it Mitzrayim Beit Abadim, or Egypt, the house of bondage. Now, this is a website that you can all go to, slavevoyages.org. Slavevoyages.org. What we're going to see here is that the names here in this category are all Hebrew names. Aliyah, Manya, Manaya. These are all Hebrew names. Okay? It gives you the age of the slave that they, the person that they made slaves. It tells you how tall they were. It tells you whether the man or woman or a girl. It tells you that they were Igbo or Igbo. We already established earlier on that those are the Hebrews. Those are the children of Israel. So clearly, we see who went into slavery. It tells you the ship name that they went into slavery on. And it tells you exactly when they arrived. Now, this wasn't something that me and these brothers put together. When we look at how this came about, we see that a lot of resources went into place. We see Emory University, their libraries. We see the National Endowment for the Humanities. We see Hutchins Center for African and African American Research at Harvard. The University of Hull in the United Kingdom, and also Universidade Federal de Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, as well as Victoria University of Wellington in New Zealand. So what they did was they pulled from a lot of resources. There was a lot of scholars that sat down in this think tank and said, hey, let's figure out about slavery. And so they composed this resource that is open. Anybody can Google it. Anybody can type in slavevoyages.org and be able to see it for themselves. So if the slaves were not associated with the biblical Hebrews, my question then becomes, why do we see Hebrew names? If they weren't, we shouldn't see any Hebrew names. Why do the Hebrew names appear on the transatlantic slave trade ledgers? Why were the slaves forced to take new names when they were here in America? You've seen Roots, then you've seen when Kunta Kinte was beaten and they made him say his name was Toby. Mm-hmm. All right? Why did they do that? Why weren't the slaves allowed to read the Bible for themselves? And why were the slaves only allowed to hold church under close supervision? I'll tell you why. Because as soon as they started to read the book for themselves, they realized who they were. This is why one of the things that they did, you can look this up, it's on display right now at the Bible Museum, Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C., and they call it the Slave Bible. This Slave Bible right here is not your average ordinary Bible like the brother has in his hand. Okay? 90% of the Old Testament is missing, and 50% of the New Testament. The entire book of Revelation has been taken out. And anything that references God's redemption for his people has been excluded. Anything that would potentially cause an uprising on the plantation was eliminated out of the Bible. And this is what they utilize it, and they call it select parts of the Holy Bible for the use of Negro slaves in the British West India Islands. So what's the difference between slavery in ancient Egypt and slavery in America? What's the difference? The young man said nothing. It's nothing. Let's look at the symbolism that they utilize. Pharaoh, president / Pharaoh. Mm-hmm. Over here in Egypt, we have the obelisk, Washington Monument, obelisk, pyramids. You can see them on the back of your dollar. Or you can see them also, they have one in Memphis, Tennessee, I believe. A very big one.
Yeah.
And of course, it was also the place where the Hebrews were enslaved. America, according to biblical scriptures, is spiritual Egypt. Again, going back to Deuteronomy 28:68, it said that we will be entering into the house of bondage. We will go into slavery again, but this time on slave ships. While I was up in Washington, D.C., I had the opportunity to visit the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture. I believe the museum opened up in about 2017-ish, possibly? 2016? Thank you very much. When you go in, they have plaques, and they tell you that the building was modeled after slave ships. Now, wait a minute. Incidentally, that slave ship is parked across the street from the obelisk. It's all spiritual. So when the scriptures tell you that you will go into Egypt again with ships, here's the evidence of it subliminally, and it's hidden in plain sight. What they want to do every year is forget about our past. No matter how many slave movies that they come out with, they say forget about it. Oh, what about what happened to my, oh, that was so long ago. Remember Pearl Harbor. Remember the Holocaust. Remember 9/11, but forget about slavery. Here's a perfect, I love this picture because it's very symbolic. And you see a sister here, elder sister, and as she's scrubbing the floors, it appears that she's trying to wipe away that history. So the question becomes, did our ancestors, now we're past that. We've established that in the land of Israel and the land of Africa, that the Jews that resided there, the Hebrews, were men and women of color. They were Negroes, as a matter of fact. Okay? My question is, what happened when we got here? Did we maintain all this greatness? Of course we did. We see it through our multitude of great black inventors. Well, what else did we retain of our Israelite heritage? You got a church, right? When you praise